Hi everybody, welcome back to Law Hero. My name is Jen and I make videos about the law, all things law related. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe because otherwise you won't know when I make videos. So today we're going to be talking about my favorite king of law, Professor Richard Susskind. Once again, because I think it's always good to refresh ourselves with his ideas. I'm a strong advocate of his ideas. There's lots of arguments that his ideas haven't come to pass, but I believe in the next 10 years they certainly will. And he's been quite active around COVID because obviously that has increased the online presence and reduced a lot of inefficiencies in legal services. So over Christmas, I read The End of Lawyers. And I had read it years ago, but I decided to read it again simply because I knew he wrote it post-recession, so post-2009 recession. And I just wanted to see in 10 years had any of his ideas come to pass, because the book is 10 years old. And yeah, I mean, I'm just a curious person. I like to watch evolution and history, and yeah, obviously with my own profession, I'm very interested in, especially being in-house. We tend to see more of the inefficiencies, especially when we farm out work. But I'll come to that later. So I just want to give a summary of what he discussed. So, he looks at the law firm model and how, those partners who have been in practice for a very long time, due to their experience, they are the trusted advisors. And now what has happened is that they sit in the middle. He calls it like, and then there's cogs around it. It's like a donut where the partner's in the middle and then there's cogs around it. And then everybody else around them is their support, basically. But without them, there is no business because they're the ones with the know-how. And that is very much what has happened. And more so, because of the work that the people around the partners are doing has become a bit more routine, they're able to outsource or offshore a lot of that work. For example, Baker and McKenzie have like a discovery kind of bulk document review place in Belfast, which was cheaper for them to run from there than in mainland UK. That would be an example of offshoring or even outsourcing that part of the diligence, that they put it up there, and that's become basically they do all the heavy lifting and then the partners assess the information that comes back from that, we'll say, due diligence center, and then they make the calls based on the heavy lifting that was done. Whereas in the past, that heavy lifting would have been done in the law firm and the client would have had to pay for it. But now, because the client won't pay for that many hours, that's why a lot of law firms have been looking to outsource the due diligence. So he's been talking about that change in the law firm structure. Professor Susskind, he has great regard for in-house lawyers because ultimately in-house lawyers drive the price of legal services. Like, in-house lawyers are the ones who we engage private practice. So obviously we're the ones who argue the fees, and it's in private practice's interest to keep the fees as high as possible so that their businesses are profitable. So he talks about Trevor Fowler, who I believe is from Ernst & Young or KPMG. He's in-house in one of the big accounting firms, and he's made a model called the SMARTER model, which looks at like organizational psychology and economics and management theory. So basically it's having your in-house so well streamlined, and that you invest in your employees in-house that you don't need to go out to the firm so much. And then the in-house counsel for Cisco, who's Mark Chandler, he adopted like a fee retainer for dispute resolution. So what that means is he has certain lawyers on standby, but only at a fixed price. And a lot of people were skeptical about that idea because they were like, no one is going to do litigation for a fixed price, but he proved otherwise. But he did in the book, he was a little bit skeptical about the rest of us, the rest of us in-house counsel, who are a little bit somehow led and said by private practice, because a lot of us came from private practice and we're a little bit reluctant to push back on fees because, I don't know, we have some psychological chip on our shoulder. We're like, oh, well, the law firm knows best, but actually we're forgetting that we're the client and the client comes first. So he's saying that general counsel have to learn to be a bit more pushy when it comes to fees, and I would agree with that. Like the actual end of lawyers. And he actually says that there won't be an end of lawyers, but what will happen is it'll be kind of like the outsourcing thing on a micro level, in that most of the work will be done by non-legal people or even robots, and then the final product will come to the lawyer for sign off for the client. One really interesting thing, so he Richard Susskind, he is very much in favour of access to justice, and for example, there should be better access to justice in Ireland. In Ireland, we have like one of the most inefficient court systems. It's extremely expensive. Like if you go to court, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands before you even blow your nose. And that has been criticised in the UK as well. Like some jurisdictions like Germany, for example, very good, very cheap, very quick, but we just don't have those kind of resources here in Ireland. If you've seen my other video, it talks about courts going online, and that's another article I've read from him during the summer. But he talks about, and like I've had experience with this. So for example, you can buy Law Hero notes on PayPal, and if somebody wants to dispute, they raise a dispute through PayPal's dispute resolution center, and then both parties like lodge their documents to PayPal. So you can just upload like proof of purchase or whatever, like ebook I sent to the my customer, and then they make an assessment, and basically like we have to just be cool with it because like we're using the service, we're both service users of PayPal, and they make a decision and we just accept it. And it's amazing because they do that millions of times a week. And he's basically saying that like all dispute resolution fora should go in, should be like PayPal or whatever other big online payment services company, their dispute resolution model. It's fantastic because it's free, it's really quick, and you kind of feel like justice has been done at the end because you've had someone like a case manager look at the case. Like they're not a judge, but they're a logical person who can look at the evidence from both sides and be like, okay, you're right, you're wrong, get on with your lives. And I've used it and I think it's fantastic, and I really think it's justice in operations, albeit on a micro level. So I totally agree with him. I think if somehow we could have some kind of fora or online dispute resolution platform where, for example, we'll say if I'm in-house counsel and I've engaged, we'll say, an outsourced provider, and there's a dispute over fees, rather than going to arbitration and spending thousands on an arbitrator, that we could somehow have a subscription to an online account. Both of us could upload our documents. We would have get a chance to give testimony via video link, and then rather than having judge and jury and all of that, just have one person decide, and we just have to get on with it. And yeah, you can go to a court if you want, but that's going to cost you in the end, and it's going to waste your time as well, and it's going to take resources from the business. Litigation is such a drag on resources. Litigation can destroy a business. It's such a massive risk for doing business. And me personally, when I look at it, I think to myself, why would you bother getting into a high risk business if all the thanks you're going to get for it is someone is going to take you to court? And you see, for example, when you study tort and you read about people slip in a supermarket or whatever, they get millions in compensation. it's just the way our culture is gone, and it has driven up the cost of litigation, it has driven up the cost of insurance, but ultimately the whole of the public has suffered because the cost or access to justice has declined. So this is the other side of compo culture. You have people hoping to God they fall off their bike or get hit in the head by a car door, but at the same time, when people have a genuine grievance, there's nowhere to turn, and a lot of the time it just goes unnoticed. So yeah, I think this kind of innovation is definitely needed. We're talking like this is never going to happen. Well, it is going to happen, but it's not. I don't think it's going to happen soon enough, and especially with COVID, access to justice is even worse, I would say. Like, you know, if God help you, if you had a case in the courts at the moment, you'd be waiting months and months and months for people to get their act together, because obviously the online system wasn't prepared for a pandemic. But anyway, so yeah, it's not going to be the end of lawyers as the book suggests, but I think everybody and all of my YouTube subscribers and people who are starting out their legal career would be wise to keep reading about legal technology, because legal technology is going to reduce headcount, whether you like it or not, no matter what area of law you're in. There's going to be more instances where law firms, you know, reduce the intakes of trainees they get because simply clients aren't going to pay for it. Especially coming out of a pandemic, it's going to be a little bit like the last economic recession, in that there's not going to be as much money there for very expensive law firms. Like, as Susskind does say, the really big ticket litigation, as in one a company really wants to defend, or we'll say a massive merger and acquisition, one that is, you know, it's life changing for the business, they are always going to need, you know, the best of the best legal counsel. But we'll say for setting small things like setting up companies, managing returns, you know, drafting employment contracts, all of that stuff can be done through online platforms, and indeed they are being used more, and I've seen it myself. There's so many ex-lawyers coming out with new platforms. They're teaming up with software designers, and they're making software that is standard and anyone can use it, and I'm talking about lay people can use it, and it's reducing cost. And at the end of the day, every business wants to reduce cost, and the legal sector isn't immune to that. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the end of lawyers. I hope you get something from it. I think it's good to be educated around this, especially for trainee interviews. If you're not in the know about this, you're going to look very uneducated and ignorant towards the way legal services is moving and the models, and, you know, how legal services are being purchased by, you know, service users. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, we will continue to monitor what Richard Susskind says, because, you know, he is a maverick in the field. There's no one else really talking about what he does. So yeah, I'll keep you guys in the loop whenever I notice he publishes anything. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.